Ready, set, hut, hut.
As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sound of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 50 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tay Von Austin.
The Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride.
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night.
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back into another live stream here on the Country Roads webcast. And it's game week. We're just a couple of days away now from the start of the 2025 WVU football season. Hard to believe it. We've already made it, guys. And with it being game week, we've had some fun stuff come out. Last live stream or last video I did have a chance to talk about Rich Rod's radio show a little bit. Now, today, we get a chance to talk about a depth chart. That's right. We got a depth chart this week. Yes, there's several oars on it, but there's several spots that are already decided, and I'm excited to talk about all of those. Bunch of surprises there as well. So we got to get into breaking down this depth chart. That's what the main crux of this stream is going to be, is just talking about the depth chart for game one of the season. And then we got a couple of schedule updates. Of course, we have the WVU football scheduling update to talk about that I'm sure you may have heard of by now. If not, we'll get you info on that. And then, of course, I want to give you our schedule for the upcoming season. WVU's football season's kicking off Saturday. That means it's time for us to have a bunch of content coming at you here on the Country Roads webcast. And I want you guys to be able to know what all's coming on what day of the week and where you can find everything. So we're going to give you guys an update on our show content schedule here on the Country Roads webcast as well for the upcoming WVU football season, so you can stay up to date with that as well. So that's what's on the docket for this stream. Appreciate you guys tuning into this one, whether you're watching live or on the playback. If you're watching live on Facebook or Twitch, got to encourage you to come over to the Country Roads webcast YouTube channel, subscribe here, get access to our pre-recorded videos, podcast episodes, some of those things that we'll talk about when we talk about the content schedule you'll only be able to find over here on YouTube. So be sure to come over here and subscribe in addition to watching on Facebook or Twitch, which we appreciate. Those of you that listen on the audio side, we appreciate you guys. Well, you can find us on any podcast platform. If you listen to us that way, leave us a rating. That helps out on that side of things. And of course, those of you here on YouTube, whether you're watching live or after the fact on a playback, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. That helps us out with that crazy YouTube algorithm, helps us find more Mountaineer football fans like yourself. So with that being said, no further ado, let's talk about the depth chart. And I know, people want to highlight the oars. I know you guys have all heard a lot of people talk about the quarterback spot, and we will talk about some of the oars. But first, I want to talk about the spots that are more solidified, and then I want to talk about some things that really surprised me on the depth chart. Then we'll kind of go through it piece by piece. So let's pull it up here. I've made it into a Google Doc, as I will throughout the season, to be able to keep up with it game after game. But I just copied it from the official university one and just made it a little bit more digestible here. So let's talk about some spots that are solidified, and let's scroll down here to the defense on the second page, because I think, interestingly enough, there are a lot of oars, a lot of positions that are undecided, particularly on the offense. But here on the defense, all of our starters are pretty much known here. You see no oars beside a lot of these starters on the defensive side. So let's talk about this here. And I think, don't want to toot my own horn too much, but a lot of this kind of holds true to some of the predictions that we made when we were going through doing our position preview series here that we did on the YouTube channel. And but there are some surprises. Like I said, I do want to point out some of those as well. But let's point out the solid things here first, the guys without oars. So let's go through the defense because that's where a lot of these are. And then there are some on the offense. But defensively, defensive end, Eddie Kelly, first string, Devin Grant right there behind him as your two deep there. No big surprise. We knew those guys were really good pass rushers, really talented players. Eddie Kelly's a monster of a human being, and we know how good Devin Grant is coming from Incarnate Word. Defensive tackle, Steady Eddie, first string there. You guys know it's my guy, Eddie V. I like to call him Steady Eddie here on the Country Roads webcast. First string with Asani Redwood right behind him. Then at nose guard, we have Hammond Russell and Nate Gabriel. Nate Gabriel impressed last year as a true freshman. Looks like he's continuing to impress and expecting a big year from Ham Russell in his final season. The bandit spot, the two culprits we kind of expected there, Braden Siders and Curtis Jones Jr. Braden Siders, a great pass rusher West Virginia brought in via the transfer portal. And, of course, Curtis Jones, can't say enough about what he did throughout the offseason, shooting up from, 6'1" to 6'4", nearly 6'5". Huge growth spurt, and he's a freak of an athlete there. West Virginia in great hands at the bandit spot, even with Jamori Robinson still absent right now. The linebackers. My prediction was, Reed Carrico and Chase Wilson or Ben Bogle and Chase Wilson. Turns out it's Reed Carrico and Chase Wilson. Chase Wilson, I knew, was the one sure thing. I think he's got a great chance to be the leading tackler this year. You see solidified at the starter at the mic, Reed Carrico, the starter at the wheel, Chase Wilson. Now, we do have an or here. Our first or coming up in the backers is Ben Bogle or Ashton Woods at the Mike linebacker position. So little competition still there on going for the second string Mike linebacker spot between the UNC transfer, Ashton Woods, who's young, a redshirt freshman, I do believe, and then Ben Bogle, who's a redshirt junior coming up there from the junior college ranks. And then, of course, at wheel backing up Chase Wilson, you have Ben Cutter. Now, nickel, this is where we get to probably, in my opinion, there are multiple surprises here. I'll point out on the depth chart in general. But in my opinion, my biggest surprise that I saw when I was going through this is that Chris Filippo. How about this, guys? Chris Filippo that just came into WVU. And we know we've talked a lot about the nickel position and all the guys that West Virginia could play there. We knew Fred Perry was going to be the main guy, be the starter. He's going to be a star player of this defense, a fan favorite. But, then we were talking about guys like William Davis and Zay Jennings and, some other guys that could play the nickel. But we did not see Chris Filippo coming on this strong, this early. Great size there. He's like 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", somewhere in that range. Don't have the roster pulled up right now to be able to see his height exactly. But a true freshman is right now the second string at the nickel spot behind Fred Perry. How about that? So Fred Perry, definitely your starter, but Chris Filippo, the true freshman, making an appearance on the two deep. That's impressive for sure. At corner, mentioned surprise there with Filippo. Another surprise for me was I figured, and you guys heard me talk about this, that Michael Coates and Jordan Scruggs would be the top two corners. My surprise here was that they're playing the same position right now instead of being one on one side and one on the other. You have Michael Coates as the starter and Jordan Scruggs as a backup. That's a solid left cornerback spot there. And then at the right cornerback, you have Jason Chambers and Devontae Golden Nelson. Figured those would be kind of your top four. And it looks like right now there's no or here. So you're starting two corners, Michael Coates and Jason Chambers. And then the backups there, Jordan Scruggs and Devontae Golden Nelson. The next surprise for me came at free safety, where Izzy Boyce is actually starting above KK Tarnew and Derek Carter. Surprising for multiple reasons, because Israel Boyce is only a sophomore versus Tarnew, who's a senior, and Derek Carter, who's a redshirt senior. But then the other reason it's surprising is because both of those guys are former Jack State players, haven't played in this defense before. So, KK Tarnew, of course, was at WVU last season, but prior to that, he was at Jack State. And, of course, Derek Carter came over from Jack State, moving to more of a safety position here at WVU after playing corner at Jack State. But nonetheless, I think that this shows you how impressive Israel Boyce has been to this coaching staff, to this defensive staff right now, for him to not only be, listed at the free safety position alongside those guys, but to be ahead of them. And with no or in between, the solidified number one Israel Boyce above KK Tarnew and Derek Carter. So I think that shows you huge potential of two guys on this defense that are young right now. Chris Filippo at the nickel spot, and then Izzy Boyce here at the free safety spot, man, to be the starter game one of the season. It looks like that's huge for a sophomore that's got a huge ceiling, and we might get to see some of that this year. And then your box safety, Darren Lewis, the starter there. Love to see that. I loved what I saw from him at Akron. I think he was, probably one of their most talented defensive players, and I'm not surprised to see him earn a starting job at West Virginia. And then behind him, you'll either have Justin Harrington or Jordan Walker. So that takes us through the defense, some of the things that are solidified. Let's go to the offense. There are a lot more oars, but where there's not any oars on the offensive line. So the offensive line pretty solidified right now for game one. And the starters are kind of who we thought they'd be. From left to right, your left tackle will be Nick Cray. Your starting left guard will be Walter Youngbear. Your starting center will be Landon Livingston. Your starting right guard will be Kimo Makaneole. And your starting right tackle will be Tykeist Crawford. The backups, left tackle, the second string will be Michael Clay, backing up Cray. Donovan Haslam comes in to back up Walter Youngbear at the left guard spot. Carson Lee, of course, backing up Landon Livingston at center. Josh Isosa, the Oklahoma transfer, backing up Kimo Makaneole at right guard. And Malik Ogbo backing up Tykeist Crawford at right tackle. Then we have also solidified. Two of the three receiver positions, the starter there is solidified. Our slot receiver, still a competition ongoing there, and that's kind of to be expected with how highly they've talked about that position, right? But our two outside receivers were kind of who we projected they'd be. Cam Vaughn on one side, Jaden Bray on the other. I like the potential of those two guys. And then behind them, behind Cam Vaughn, you still got a competition between Justin Smith-Brown and the newly eligible Jeff Weimer, both senior guys that I think could help West Virginia a lot at the receiver spot. And then, of course, Preston Fox, back for his final season, is behind Jaden Bray. Then it's your slot receiver. This is where you still have an ongoing competition, no solidified starter yet. You're still deciding between Rodney Gallagher, Man Singleton, and Gerard Bowie. Solidified on offense, though, the starter running back, as expected, my guy, my favorite player, Jaheim White. But the backup spot still up for grabs. Play Ash or Sincere Bowers or Dior Hubbard. And I think some people were surprised to not see Ty Edwards' name on there. I think, a lot of that is probably due to him not really getting a chance to practice until recently. So he's a little bit behind the 8 ball. So, these guys have been around, so they get their name up on the depth chart first. Probably same goes for Tyler Jacklich and Andre Devine, who are also still on the roster at the running back spot. So that's kind of tells us what's solidified, and you see all the awards here as well. Let's bring it to quarterback here. Let's talk about this. Then we'll just run through this thing and highlight anything that I think I missed there. Because I think at quarterback, maybe some people were surprised to see all 5 listed as the oar and not necessarily like 3 oars for a first string and a guy second string or something. But they probably wanted to get all 5 guys on this depth chart. So they're all listed right here, or under the first string. So we'll see who trots out there first, but I wouldn't put too much stock into that, because I'd say 4 out of 5 of these guys will play, maybe all 5, depending on how badly West Virginia is winning on Saturday. So, we'll keep a lookout. But on the depth chart, this is how it's listed. Nico Marchiol or Jalen Henderson or Max Brown or Scotty Fox or Khalil Wilkins. I do want to note, though, that maybe we can take a little something into the order that they are listed, because that is the order in which they are listed. And that's not in descending order of class, because Jalen Henderson's a senior, so he'd be ahead of Marchiol. It's not in alphabetical order, as you can see there. So, maybe there's something that can be taken from that. Nico's listed first, Jalen is second, Max third, Scotty fourth, and Khalil fifth. I don't know. Just trying to read the tea leaves and find a little something. But I think all those guys are going to play. And, it'll be game 2, game 3 when we'll kind of learn who's going to be our main guy there that's really going to run the show as the season progresses. Game 1's going to be a filling out process, not only for there, but for a lot of positions. As we'll scroll back through here and see some of the other ones we didn't touch on. We talked about the backup at running back, still an ongoing competition. The backup at the X receiver spot, the backup at the slot, or the slot receiver spot in general, And then at tight end, they still have Grayson Barnes or Jacob Barrick. I think we'll see both those guys a lot. You'll probably see Ryan Ward as well out there on the field, maybe Greg General some. I know you'll see at least 3 tight ends, I would say, probably on Saturday. We talked about the offensive line. It's solidified. No oars there. That's maybe a good thing to see, right? That's 10 guys across 5 positions. Do you feel like you're 10 deep? If they have those guys listed, and then, there's other guys that aren't listed here that I think could help as well, maybe throughout the season, a guy like an Xavier Bosley or someone like that. So maybe before it's all said and done, you can go 11 plus deep on the offensive line. That would be huge, guys, if so. Onto the defense, which we talked about pretty extensively. The only undecided positions there, Mike linebacker, the second string spot there, undecided. Second string spot at free safety, undecided. and second string spot at Bandit safety undecided. Which leaves us with special teams, guys. You didn't think I'd forget, did you? We've been waiting to see who was going to win the kicking job, the kickoff specialist job, and the return men, who was going to be those as well. So let's get to that before we wrap up the depth chart discussion here. Starting kicker, Cade Hensley wins the place kicking job. He'll handle field goals, extra points with Ethan Head as the backup. Of course, Oliver Straw remains the punter. New addition Aiden Steyer is his backup. The holder this year will also be Oliver Straw. He'll be holding for the field goal attempts, and the backup there is RJ Kokan. Long snapper, McGuire Moss, Caden Seller as the second stringer, and then kickoff specialist, Ethan Head from Tulane gets the job there, and Nate Flower is his backup. So I like the more specialist roles here. West Virginia went out and got a guy from Tulane, a transfer, and Ethan Head to handle specifically kickoffs. He ends up winning that. And then Cade Hensley to specifically handle place kicking duties. He wins that. So I think we'll be better there because of those two things. And then the return men, I figured we'd have some guys that would battle for this. Gerard Bowie, Main Man Singleton, whoever else would get involved. But lo and behold, Preston Fox wins out yet again, at least to start the season here now. Preston Fox will be your return man. He's listed first string as the kick returner and punt returner with Gerard Bowie, the Jacksonville State transfer, former Concord University player. They're listed behind him. So there it is, your depth chart for game one of the season. We'll continue to update this throughout the season as we move forward here in 2025. Of course, after some of these position battles get settled and such, we'll be able to update this a lot moving forward. So stay tuned with us here on the CRW as we continue to do that. But exciting stuff there on the depth chart. I'm a big depth chart roster guy, as you guys know. So I was excited to see that and finally get a chance to break it down here on the stream. Other than that, got a couple scheduling updates to get to. One for West Virginia and then one for us here at the CRW. We'll do the CRW one here first. I'm going to take a swig of my water really quickly, and then we'll get right into that. All right. So, like I said, we'll be updating the depth chart throughout the season, but that's not the only bit of stuff we'll be doing here on the Country Roads webcast. Oh, no, we have content pretty much coming at you almost every day of the week. Once football season rolls around, it's our busiest time. So, some people may be new to the channel. We picked up quite a few subscribers this offseason with the coaching search and adding Rich Rod and all of those things, among many others. Wanted to update people on what our content schedule will look like for the upcoming season, both for people on the main channel and for those that are channel members, which we appreciate our channel members. You can become one by hitting the join button down below in the video description or on the YouTube channel homepage. Not only do you help keep this mic recording and that camera rolling, but you also get a ton of bonus content, which I'll show you some of the things that you'll get here when we talk about this content schedule for the season. So for our content schedule for the upcoming season, let me zoom this out a little bit here so we can get all of it in here. So on the main channel, which doesn't cost you anything just to be here and be a subscriber to the Country Roads webcast channel, you're going to get on either Sunday or Monday our game review podcast following each WVU football game. Then on Tuesday and Wednesday, you'll get our game preview show. And then on either Thursday or Friday, we'll be doing our live stream where we get some of your predictions for the upcoming game. This week, it'll be, like I said, tomorrow or Friday. And we'll be doing, of course, you can send in your score predictions for the game. You can send in any other predictions you have for the game. But also, we're taking season predictions in the one coming up to begin this week. So that's what you get on the main channel here if you're subscribed to the Country Roads webcast. But if you join and become a channel member, you get, of course, that still yet, the stuff on the main channel. But you also get this. If you're at the Wild and Wonderful level on Sundays, you can watch us behind the scenes as we record that game preview podcast, game review podcast, and you can share your thoughts on the previous WVU football game there. And we, highlight some of those on the show sometimes as well. So you can hear your thoughts pop up on the podcast when we release it there on Sunday or Monday. And then on Monday, we will be doing the player grades and snap counts live stream where I go over the top graded players according to PFF, the snap counts for each WVU football player who played the most, all that good stuff. We're going over that on Monday for channel members. And then if you're at the Almost Heaven level, there you get everything, of course, that we just talked about there in the Wild and Wonderful level that you get on Sunday and Monday. Plus, you'll also get the film review for each WVU football game this season, releasing that on Tuesdays and Wednesdays throughout the week. So we can go over some of the top plays, some of the things that really stood out to me from the previous game with the film review. And then also on Saturdays for the away games, of course, home games being Morgantown there. But for the away games, we'll be doing the game watch along streams this year for channel members only at the Almost Heaven level. Just come join us. We'll hang out, watch the WVU football game together. You watch it on your screen, watch it on our screen, and we'll chat about it throughout and just have a good time, a little game watch party there for channel members. So all in all, let's say that you are at the almost heaven level and you're a channel member. Not only would you get, everything on the main channel, everything at Wild and Wonderful level, so your weekly schedule could look something like this. Say it's an away game for West Virginia. Boom, you'd have a Saturday game watch along to watch with us, a game watch party to watch the WVU football game. Sunday, you can come hang out, watch us behind the scenes as we record the game preview, the game review podcast, share some of your thoughts in there. Monday, you get to come watch the player grades and snap counts live stream, chat a little bit there if you want. Then also that same day on the main channel, that game review podcast that you watch the behind the scenes of will be out. Then on Tuesday or Wednesday, the game preview show will be out where we preview the upcoming game and give our predictions. Then on Thursday and Friday, we get our predictions live stream there on the main channel, and then boom, do it all over again. So full week's worth of content there for you guys if you're a channel member, and still a good majority there of the days taken up in the week, even if you're just there on the main channel. So appreciate your support either way, but that's a little bit of what you can know about our schedule there. Sundays and Mondays will be our game reviews. Tuesdays and Wednesdays will be our game previews. Thursday and Friday will be our prediction live streams. And then for you channel members, you get a little bit extra, including the behind the scenes on Sunday, the player grades and snap counts on Monday, the film review on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then the game watch along for away games on Saturday. So there's an update for the CRW content schedule this upcoming season. But how about a WVU football schedule update, as one was released here this past week? If you didn't know, you're about to know. West Virginia and Alabama had previously been scheduled. The SEC's decided to go to 9 conference games. Finally, how about that? They can play the same conference games as most everybody else. Good to see it finally. Now they won't be playing Chaminade and university that you've never heard of late weeks of the season, regular season now maybe. But because of that, West Virginia and Alabama mutually agreed to cancel their 2-game series in 26 and 27. So West Virginia had to fill those holes on the schedule. So West Virginia decided to do that by adding Coastal Carolina on September 5th, 2026, which will be played in Morgantown, and then Southern Miss on September 4th, 2027, also played in Morgantown. So both those will be at home. So now next year, West Virginia opens the season against Coastal Carolina in Morgantown, and then in 2027, they'll open the season against Southern Miss in Morgantown as well. I know some people are bummed they want to see West Virginia play Alabama. I understand I would have liked to go to Bryant-Denny Stadium, but I'm all for a more favorable schedule, especially with how tough West Virginia's schedule was for what seemed like the past decade where we had to play 2 power conference teams. I really love Ren Baker's method of let's have 1 power conference, 1 group of 5, and 1 FCS as far as our non-conference schedule goes. I think that's formidable. That should allow us to start 2-1, maybe even 3-0 in most years. And then if we can go do good in the Big 12 conference, we can have successful seasons and continue to stack those here as we try and rebuild things. So I don't mind it. I personally don't mind it as much as I would have liked to play Alabama because, the exposure and all that. I'd rather start a year 3-0. And I think we got a good chance to do that not only this year, but maybe 3 years in a row now when you look at 2026 and 2027. And there's something to be said about stacking wins and building momentum. Sometimes that's how you have a really successful season as you start to win. You're 3-0, you roll into conference play. Hey, we're undefeated. You got momentum then. So then maybe you beat somebody you're not supposed to. And then all of a sudden you're 4-0. And that continues to roll. And it can really snowball into a great season. So, I'm all for that type of thinking. And I'm all for Ren Baker's thinking of, like I said, an FCS, a group of 5, and a Power 5 team every season. And hopefully most years that Power 5 team is Pitt. I know we got a 2-3 year hiatus from them now. But in the future, that'll pick back up and be the Power Conference game. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much all I had. I wanted to talk about the depth chart a little bit. I'm excited that it's finally here. You guys know I love that type of stuff, and that means we're very, very close to the 2025 season. Can't wait to cover it. We'll be back, like I said, tomorrow or Friday. Going to talk with Brad and Steven and see which day works best. Thinking it's probably going to be tomorrow night for our predictions live stream where we come get some of your all's predictions for the game and for the season. So be on the lookout for that. And, of course, all the other content that I pulled up there when we went over the content schedule. Other than that, I will catch up with some of your all's comments that threw them in here in the live chat. I haven't missed them. I will get to some of those here before we wrap up. And I appreciate you guys that are tuned in here live, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. If you're on Facebook or Twitch, be sure to come over to the Country Roads Webcast YouTube channel, subscribe here, get access to our pre-recorded videos, podcast episodes, in addition to just these live streams. But if you are here on YouTube watching, whether live or on that replay, hit that thumbs up button, help us out with that algorithm, help us find more Mountaineer football fans like yourself. With that being said, let's catch up on the chat here. We got Devil Dog in the house. Let's go. Good to see you, Devil Dog. Says he's ready to run through a brick wall. Can only imagine how amped the coaches and players are. I know, man. If we're feeling as hyped as we are, it's hard to tell how hyped they are because I got it running through me already, and we still got a couple days left to get through, man. Can only imagine how amped up I'm going to be once Saturday rolls around. Hey, Kenny, good to see you, man. Doing good. Hope you are as well. Good to see you in here as well, Raven. Getting closer to kickoff. That's right. That's right. So close we can almost taste it. It's about that time, guys. We're ready for some Mountaineer football, aren't we? We are ready. Let's see here. I got Edward Batten in here. What's going on, Edward? Good to see you. Devil Dog 44 says Rich Rod said he has more talent / depth than ever before. By the backyard brawl, we'll know who we are. Great way to put it. 100% agree. And I think that's probably kind of the line of thinking is, let's let these battles play out in this, especially this first game, tighten some of them up by the second game. And then by the third game, we'll definitely know who we can trust on the most to go out and win the backyard brawl because it's very important to Rich Rod, to the team, and to the state. And I think that they know that, and no one knows that more than Rich Rod. And I think he does have a lot of talent and depth, secretly on this roster that not a lot of people know about, but they're going to find out about this upcoming season for sure. Hey, channel member Shaq in the house. Appreciate you always, Shaq, tuning in. Like, share, and smash that damn subscribe button. He says, hey, appreciate that, Shaq. Appreciate those reminders. Yeah, if you guys would, those things really help us out a ton. And no better time to do it. As you just saw, the content's about to be pouring out here on the channel now that football season's rolling out. So appreciate that reminder, Shaq, who says he hasn't been this excited about WVU since the Tavon years. I think that a lot of people share in that sentiment, man. There's just a different feel in the air now that Rich Rod's back here about WVU football this upcoming season. There really is, man. And I can't wait. It's palatable, and I can't wait to get out there and see how crazy that atmosphere is on Saturday in Morgantown, because I'm sure you're really going to be able to feel it there when it's sold out, packed house for these guys to come out and get to see this team perform for the first time. It's going to be awesome. It really is. And I appreciate all you guys that commented there in the live chat. If you didn't get a chance to tune in live and you're watching on a playback, you can share some thoughts in the comment section. Appreciate those interactions as well as we continue to try and grow the CRW community throughout Mountaineer Nation. Like I said, guys, be back to talk to you guys at least one more time before the game kicks off there. And then, of course, be sure if you haven't yet and you're new to the channel, subscribe, because that content's going to be rolling at you. Game reviews, game previews, film reviews, player grades, snap counts, live streams to chat about the games, you name it. It's all coming out here on the Country Roads webcast, and it's about to begin, guys. We've about made it. Can't wait to talk about it with you guys as we progress through the 2025 season that's about to kick off. Having said that, until next time, let's go Mountaineers.